Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is a Dragalia discussion video about the Dream Summon Special. This Dream Summon Special is a total surprise. It was announced earlier this week, but wasn't in the Dragalia Digest. And if you're not aware, this is basically a paid summon where you can pick a particular character or dragon of your choice. So I'm really excited this is back. It's super cool to think about which types of characters you might want to go for, or maybe which dragons you want to pull. And joining me today for this special discussion is a very special guest. So I have on the line with me, 0rthodox. Hello, 0rthodox. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hey Foundry, thanks for having me. Hey everybody, my name is 0rthodox. I am also a fellow Dragalia Lost YouTuber here on the YouTube space. You guys might know me as the host of the Halidome Hotspot and also for the guide videos and other Dragalia meme videos that I have posted in the past.
Awesome. Well, welcome, 0rthodox. I definitely recommend all of you check out 0rthodox's channel. He has some really great content over there. As he mentioned, the Halidome Hotspot podcast. They recently had a special guest on the voice of Yuden, Victor Hunter, which is absolutely amazing. They've had Devin Mack, the voice of Volk, on in the past, as well as Durant and Joaquim. So it's definitely worth a listen. And as 0rthodox mentioned, there's other content there as well, like a auto setup for Master Ciella's Wrath that just released. So very cool to have you on. Definitely appreciate all you do here on YouTube. And to start us off, before we get into, the Dream Summon in particular, how are you liking the second anniversary of Dragalia Lost so far?
The second anniversary has been amazing. I have to say, I streamed the digest. That was super cool. I was really excited for it. Definitely excited to see Mini Hildy. That was the baby high dragon that I've been waiting for. Absolutely love Brunhilde. I love Nim as a character, so it was excited to see her finally come home in the Halidome. As far as the changes, they have been pretty awesome. I think the only change that is a little saddening on my side is the weapon change with the cost of the weapons. I actually had just dismantled like all of my 5-star IO weapons. I think I spent like 200 million rupees dismantling weapons to get the sands back so I could make more Agito weapons. And then the 2.0 change happened and all the weapons got more expensive. So those rupees are gone.
Oh no.
That's okay. I mean, the thing is in the end, I have so many void seeds to run through. At least it gives me purpose. To go through and to use those void seeds and convert them into rupees as a veteran player. So that being said, the worm print changes, I've really been liking them. A lot of worm prints that we used to not use have now become useful, and this is primarily the event worm prints. One of the bigger changes, and this is shout out to a member of my Discord, the Fireman, he mentioned one of the summer event prints, I forget the name off the top of my head, but it gives 10% water resistance as a 4-star worm print. And this was an event worm print that we got for the summer event this year. That worm print actually greatly improved the consistency of my auto master Ciella runs on putting that on Templar Hope. So yeah, overall, there's been a lot of fun with the worm prints and the changes, like double buff changes, which has really enabled that auto clear in general. So I definitely like that aspect. Yeah, there's just so much. There's so much about the anniversary that we could talk about, but I think those are the big highlights for now. And I have to say, my overall impressions have been very much a landslide of positivity.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Same here. It's been very overwhelming in some ways because so much is different, especially in the weapon and worm print systems, and when it comes to character balance, like knowing which characters are good or not good. And so that's part of why I wanted to make this its own video. One, just to block things off and make it a little bit more digestible for folks, but also because a lot of characters are super different now, and if you are going to spend money on Dragalia Lost to pick a particular adventure of your choice, some people will know exactly who they want, but for others, they might want a little bit of insight into who they might want to pick, who we'd recommend, and so that's kind of what we're going to walk through in this video. So as I mentioned at the onset, the Dream Summon Special is a paid purchase. It costs 1200 diamantium, and it's actually available quite a while. It's available until October 30th. Depending on your time zone, it might be late in the day on October 29th, so it's that reset that it runs out or expires. And essentially, you can only get it once. It lets you pick a character or a dragon. Have you done the Dream Summon before, Orthodox, and who did you get?
Yes, I have. My first Dream Summon that I ever did was directly after the Fire Emblem event when I started the game. I had been using Ifrit for a while, and at that point, I really wanted to do HMS, standard HMS at the time. So I decided, I would not Spark, but Dream Summon for Cerberus. And I have to say, I did the Dream Summon. I immediately put 4 Sunstones into her. I got the clear on HMS a lot more quickly and a lot more efficiently. I was very happy. But then on the flip side, the next Summon Showcase, I ended up pulling 4 copies of her. So in that case, if I had been a little more patient on my first Dream Summon, that definitely would have benefited me more. I would have got those Sunstones back. I also did a Dream Summon for Tobias, which I do not regret at all. If I have not played as him, then he sits on a majority of the backline for support characters that I play. And I want to say I did one other Dream Summon, but I think it was like a guilty pleasure Dream Summon. I think I just summoned the character because I wanted them. But I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. I would probably have to go back through my roster. But yeah, so I think all in all, I've done 2 meta pick Dream Summons and 1 waifu Dream Summon at the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah, all of mine have been guilty pleasure Dream Summons in some way, except I did do one for a dragon as well. So I did one for Siren. And at the time, it was when skill damage dragons were sort of all the rage, and they had been buffed to provide 90% skill damage, and I used 4 Sunlight Stones on her. And, all I can say is at this point, I have like a whole second Max Unbound Siren available to me, so I've seen her plenty in my summoning since then. But the other characters I got, the first Dream Summon I ever did was for Nefaria. That was really cool. It was the first time the Dream Summon had come out. I never thought we'd have an opportunity like that. I was mostly free to play at that point. I had bought like one $10 pack several months earlier, and I think that was like my second ever purchase in the game, was because this was, for the first time, more of a guarantee, which I liked. After that, we got another one. I remember I did one for Heinwald. I think that was the second one I did. He was a character I had really wanted, but couldn't get him on his own showcase. I thought he was super cool as an offensive healer. Eventually, when Dream Summon came back, I got Lazri. At that time, Lazri had just released fairly recently, and I liked Water Axes, and she seemed to have a cool stance playstyle. And I think the last Dream Summon I ever did, so I feel like I've done them all, was for Julieta, who surprisingly, despite being one of the original 5 stars, I really never got off of any of my 5-star adventure tickets or just by playing the game. And of course, after I got her, immediately I started getting dupes of her from my regular summoning. So it is a factor, it is a consideration as far as being able to get the character you Dream Summon for later on as a duplicate. And so one of the things we want to say is, this is available until the 30th. So think carefully about if you want to wait perhaps until later in the month before you actually do your Dream Summon, so that you don't risk getting a duplicate of that character right away. Now, for some players, let's say you're in a position where the character you're Dream Summoning is a difference maker, and whether you're able to clear certain content like double drops content or maybe the Omega raids or something like that, well, there are arguments to be made. Sure, you might want to pick them up early so you can clear that content. Maybe you just don't really care about the risk of dupes. Your heart is set on one character and you want to go for them. I think those are all compelling reasons, and I respect it. But one other PSA besides the deadline for this that we wanted to put out there was there are actually some limited units on here.
Yes, yeah, there are. There's 4, I think, in total. Ayasu comes to mind, Dragon Yule Cleo, Halloween Elisan, but there are, and this is the first time that we've ever seen this. because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've ever had limited units on a Dream Summon before.
You're right, we haven't. And so this has kind of raised the question of, are these units going to be added to the permanent pool, perhaps? Or is this just a special thing for the anniversary? But it's perhaps all the more reason if, let's say you wanted Halloween Elisanne, which I know you might be sort of interested in her. Well, we don't know. Maybe the rest of October will reveal to us that we're actually getting a rerun of the Halloween banner. Perhaps at that time it will become non-limited, or maybe it'll stay limited. Like, so much is unknown. You have free 10-folds every day this month, remember. So I would lean toward waiting, but yeah, those are the three, and the 4 stars and dragons on their showcases are also available through the Dream Summon if you really wanted them.
Yeah, I think the only 4-star that I would ever recommend on a Dream Summon, at least, because it feels wrong to Dream Summon a 4, but for the 4-star units that exist, it would be Templar Hope, which you will inevitably dupe at some point. But his ability to auto Ciela, all difficulty forms, is unparalleled. So I guess that's food for thought for the 4 stars. Otherwise, my heavy recommendation would be only choose the 5s, as you will inevitably pull the 4s, just from random pulling and random dupes.
Yeah, I have to agree on that. I think, like, maybe if there's a seasonal 4-star that, like, you're a huge Addis fan and you got Valentine's Addis, but you missed regular Addis or something, like, maybe, but you really want to know what you're doing and know the cost that you're paying. You're giving up on a guaranteed 5-star, which is much harder to pull in general. So 4 stars are kind of random when you get them, and you can't necessarily guarantee getting them right away. But usually, if you play long enough, you're going to pick up the majority of them and eventually probably all of them at some point. So yeah, I totally agree with that advice. And well, we should talk a little bit about how to pay for the Dream Summon, right? Because there's a lot of anniversary packs, there's some regular packs. For many players, the Dream Summon is like the first purchase they might make in Dragalia Lost. So I do think it's worth spending a little time on that, and then we can get into some character recommendations as well. But as for the shop, if you're totally new to the game or you're free to play and hadn't made any purchases, one thing I could recommend is there is an $8 beginner's pack that you can purchase one time only. It's not part of the anniversary specials, so it's just a separate deal. It's a beginner pack. And for $8, you get 1,500 diamantium, as well as a small amount of gold crystals, whetstone, consecrated water, and succulent dragon fruit, which isn't all that relevant, but the 1,500 diamantium is more than enough to do the Dream Summon since it only costs 1,200. So I think that's the absolute cheapest that you can get the Dream Summon for, but that will only be available if you haven't bought it already. Otherwise, in terms of the permanent packs, there is also one that is called an Endeavor pack, I believe, or at least it was pre-2.0, but basically it is a trials pack that's going to add some permanent endeavors. And when you clear these permanent endeavors, the rewards are going to include things like a sunlight stone, among other lesser rewards like rupees, mana, and a moonlight stone. But that pack costs $20 or $19.99, and you get 1,500 diamantium. So if you had a little bit of extra money to spend, that's not a bad one because of that guaranteed sunlight stone. It's basically a free unbind on a dragon of your choice, and you get the Dream Summon. And I should also say, I don't think I mentioned this yet, with the Dream Summon, you pay 1,200 diamantium, but it's not just picking the character, you also get a 10-fold voucher out of it. So it's basically like you paid for a 10-fold, and you get a free character of your choice.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's probably the best part. I mean, it's effectively an 11 summon with the 11th character being, your choice. So yeah, for any paying player, the Dream Summon is almost always worth. And yeah, and we kind of touched on the beginner pack, right? That's I think effectively the best pack that we've ever had for Diamantium. But of course, it's a one-time purchase. So it has to be used wisely, which is, I think, what I used when I did my Dream Summon for Cerberus. So the other interesting sale combination that I wanted to point out was actually discovered by my buddy Glace. And you see there's an anniversary pack in the shop, and it effectively gives you 1,200 Diamantium, and it costs $16.99 or 17 USD. However, if you buy the Anniversary Facility Upgrade Special for $9.99, effectively $10 USD, and you go over to the normal Diamantium purchase, there is a 300 Diamantium purchase for $4. And that's the weekly pack that they have there. That's just a purchase that you can do at any time. Effectively, for 14 USD, which is $3 cheaper than the Anniversary pack, you can get 1260 Diamantium, which is enough for the Dream Summon. And you can also get a bunch of insignias from the upgrade pack, which is pretty nice if you're, an older player who's looking to craft the IO weapons, or even as a newer player and you've already purchased the beginner's pack and you want to save, $3 or so. That's an option, which is pretty cool. So thanks, Glace, for pointing that out. We definitely appreciate it, and I probably will be saving my $3 then.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because on face value, right, if you think, I want 1200 Diamantium to do this Dream Summon, well, you see the $17 pack that gives you exactly 1200 Diamantium, and you might think to yourself, that's got to be the best deal. It's so obvious, right? But actually, you can combine the $9.99 pack with the $4 pack or $3.99 pack, and you actually get 60 more Diamantium, which you could put toward, some daily deals, or just save, or perhaps spend refreshing your Stamina Gather Wings. But whatever you do, just be wary of that $17 pack. It does seem to be kind of like a bait as far as the rate of Diamantium that you're getting. When it comes to making purchases in Dragalia Lost, often you're going to want to consider with the pack, what are the guaranteed things you're getting?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think with all purchases, and this is something actually that we talked about on the podcast that you were featured in, anything that you buy in the game, and this can really be translated to any game, it should be something that gives you immediate value or helps you do something that you weren't able to do before. That's the most effective way to make the purchase. If not, Dragalia Lost is a game as any other game, so you always want to feel good about your purchase. So if it's a character like in these Dream Summons that you've been long wanting, possibly Halloween Elisan if you're me, or maybe possibly even Ayasu or Ieyasu, as I believe he's pronounced. These are highly sought after characters that people just like. They have a good aesthetic to them. They have some fun kits, and that can make or break the experience for you. So between viability and overall enjoyment and playability, I think those are important to consider.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that kind of brings us into our next topic, which is, it's just sort of what you look for in a Dream Summon, right? So it could be the aesthetic, it could be the look of the character. What I want to say is sort of, this is your opportunity to have a particular companion with you. Like, if there's a character you really want that just seems very cool or very cute or whatever it may be, this is your chance to get them for sure. So I think that you have to put a lot of weight on that. Personally, I've always leaned toward the adventurers or characters compared to the dragons, but I know that's not the case for everybody, just because you sort of just get them once and then you're good. You have them. You don't need to unbind them or anything, whereas with the dragons, that becomes more of a consideration. Something else that people think about often is going to be, what is the viability or what is the meta? There are more competitively minded players who want a particular character because it's going to help them clear content or be used in a very specific team comp. This time around, a consideration is, with like Ieyasu, the example you gave, is that unit limited to where you couldn't get them in the normal summoning pool? So these are the types of decisions that you want to mull over and weigh, the factors you want to consider when you're going to do your Dream Summon.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yeah. And there's quite a few too, and I was scrolling through the list here in terms of, which characters I would recommend. And I think there's actually quite a few that, I do have and I have been playing with, but there's a lot of characters that do enable a lot of really great things, right? Notably right now would be the Ciela grind, right? For autoing Ciela. Which kind of opens up the door to the whole new solo content that they did for version 2.0. there's more of a push for the bosses and content to be beaten in solo, and more of a push for the content to be beaten in co-op. I don't know if you saw Foundry, but it looked to me like the epithets for beating the Agito is for solo play. So, for people that are wanting to continue collecting the epithets, they will have to create characters or good team compositions by themselves to beat the future Master Agito, which we have the twins coming later in the month. And we also have Tartarus. That being said, and I think you and I are probably both in agreement, my number one recommendation for the Dream Summon, hands down, is Grace.
That is also my number one.
Yes. I think so the cheapest pack, right, the beginner pack is $8, and then for any other veteran, it would be $14, right, in terms of cost. For that $8 to $14 range, you are purchasing a character that will further enable an auto composition, and not just any auto composition. We're talking auto compositions where you can use golden Fafnirs to farm rupees, which have become the ultimate gate once again in the weapon crafting. It's Grace. Life Shield as a whole is so broken. It prevents knockback. It prevents statuses, right? Grace herself, as long as she has her life shield, she will never get bogged, paralyzed, burned, poisoned, right? All of these things won't happen to her. And it also won't happen to any of the teammates as long as life shield is attached. So I think as soon as I pulled her, that was the first time I was able to auto Expert Cayenne, like way back when, before Fire Emblem Part 2. And every single patch, Grace has just continually gotten better and better. So yeah, if you're looking to auto, comps and you're willing to spend, $8 to $10 or $8 to $14, whatever your choice is for the Dream Summon, hands down, Grace is the way to do it. I think because of the auto composition for Master Ciela, to talk about just how ridiculous Grace is as a character, I almost have all of the wind Agito weapons at tier 2 max and bound.
Wow. You've been playing quite a lot, or autoing quite a lot, huh?
And when did this fight come out? Yesterday?
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah. And it's like, and the thing too that's even crazier is, I'm a university student, right? I plug my phone in, I hit that 99X and I go do my labs, or I go write up my reports, or I go into a meeting with my colleagues. And I come back and boom, the rewards are there. I have all the different weapons to play with my favorite characters, and it's really satisfying. Yeah. All in all, auto compositions are their own little puzzle to me. It's a lot of fun to build these team compositions and see if the AI will actually perform as you see fit, and Grace is an integral piece to that. And it kind of turns Dragalia Lost into more of an RPG where, you're building a team to win, and then you're checking with the AI to see if you actually built that team correctly. So that's something I enjoy. And again, like I said, Grace is one of the adventurers that enables that the most.
I couldn't agree more. All excellent points. I mean, Grace is a phenomenal unit. Like, to add on to what you already shared, Orthodox, like, here's another random fun fact about Grace. She happens to be the only 4-strike backliner for the Ko ability. So if you care about running a 4-strike character, let's say, in co-op, that's actually probably going to be desirable for your particular character, is to be able to deal extra 4-strike damage. So that's just like a random extra thing on top of her already being this amazing, unique character for autoplay. Here's another fun fact about Grace. Grace has a reliable dispel that doesn't require using a skill. It's on her 4-strike. A lot of these auto comps, actually, that's sort of important that there be some access to a dispel, in particular for Cayenne. And the third thing I would say is Grace is also not just usable in auto, but for the hardest difficulties of Cayenne Master, she is one of the mainstays in that content. So I was sort of torn between Bellina's a character I really like, right? And she's great in Master Difficulty Kaiyan. Even after the update, she's still a pretty good staple because she can have this spell just going on constantly, and she has a lot of iframes, which is also kind of helpful for solo content. But the more I thought about it, I was just like, true, but Grace. You could just go to co-op and be a Grace instead of being a Bellina, and probably have an easier time to a certain extent because healers are always in demand. As you said, it's not just Kaiyan, it's Ciela. My autos of Volk relied upon using Grace, and I think the consistent autos now in 2.0 probably rely upon using Grace. I would imagine you could probably use her in Twins, but I think that the autos for that I've seen do tend to be more water-oriented. I've certainly used her to solo Tartarus. I don't know if she's really needed for that, but in general, she is a phenomenal all-around unit and very hard to replace. There's no other unit that has this level of life shields. So really, the only other characters with life shields are the fairies. So Peony and Mine have it when they enter battle, and Ronzal has it on his second skill. So it's kind of slow. There's one Wormprint that has life shield prep, but it's a very small amount. It's a game changer, and just to add one extra thing to what you said as well is, I think that one thing people don't respect enough about the life shields is the DPS contribution, because when your AI are not constantly getting bullied and knocked down and just falling over and getting hit by enemy attacks, they can actually finish their combos, thereby generating more SP, thereby doing more skills. So it has an impact not just defensively, but offensively as well for these auto teams.
Absolutely, yeah. And that also brings another good point. Previously, before version 2.0, dragons were considered damage sponges, right? They were your pure invincibility frame to get through purples. But now, in version 2.0, dragons are really, really good. And Life Shield protects your dragon time.
Oh.
So you effectively have more time in Dragon, with having a Life Shield user around. So that's also something, that is important to note. That I think is it used to be a negative to Grace. It used to be a negative because you would want to shift and then get out as quick as possible so you could shift again just to get the passives from Red Impulse, or the Shining Overlord when the Wormprints used to have 2 passives. But now, Dragon mods and Dragon damage has never been better. So yeah, the game truly is Dragalia Lost now, right? With the dragon mechanic being back in its glorified state.
And one thing I would say, well, speaking of dragons, don't forget that Mini Zodi is in the Fafnir Metal Exchange, so Grace is not even that expensive to build. That's a pretty good dragon for her with 30% HP, 30% strength. It's certainly a great, starter dragon if you haven't invested or haven't gotten a Nidhogg and unbound it with the essences from the Draconic essences, or if you haven't gotten an Azazel. Those are all fine dragons you can use. If you were playing back during New Year's, you can use a Bisu. And she doesn't even have her mana spiral yet, so she's not going to cost you as many resources to fully build compared to a character who does need that mana spiral to really shine.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we also have, high dragon double drops. So if you are able to, play co-op with Expert Zodiark or even Standard Zodiark, with the increase of co-op drops, you could easily farm, the high Zodiark version as well. And he's 35 too, so he's actually even better as well. You can get more HP, a bigger life shield, and these are all free dragons that you can immediately use on Grace.
Yeah, fantastic adventure. We could probably go on and on, but I'm curious, what is your second pick? What is your second choice as far as adventurers you'd recommend dream summoning?
Oh gosh. Okay, so because the limited adventurers were never a suggestion in previous stream summons, I immediately went to look at them and reassess them. And right away, the 2 other adventurers that came to mind for me was Dragonule Cleo and Ieyasu. And this is actually primarily because of their co-abilities. So Dragonule Cleo, I guess starting with her her chain co ability is the combo time for water, and it's also crit rate as the main co ability for dagger. And this is just amazing. If you're running Hunter Cerise or, any water unit that wants to use Flurry, which, by the way, Flurry has gotten a lot better. I mean, you have a 4-star Flurry crit print. You have a 5-star Flurry 20% strength print. These are all really, really good. And Dragalia Cleo allows you to enable that very, very well, and stack the crit rate. So definitely something that I would recommend looking into. And there is also a possibility that she might be getting a spiral, come Christmas time. As far as it goes for the limited units, she is essentially the farthest out, I would say, limited unit. I mean, Ieyasu also, right? New Year's and Christmas are pretty close by. If in fact the units like Halloween Elisan, for example, do become unlimited or in the standard pool, then Halloween Elisan would come first. So, I think the reason why I'm not recommending Halloween Elisan is that her building requirement cost is much higher. You need 7 Champions Testaments to spiral her, and she doesn't seem to be making a meta impact in that way. So at least not in the same way that like a Dragalia Cleo backline would do, or even Dragalia Cleo's shared skill did in the past with having a freeze option. As far as for Ieyasu, I think it's the exact same discussion as Dragalia Cleo, where his backline is just amazing. Like, if you like dragon units, right? We're talking Audric, we're talking, Forte, right? Ieyasu is hands down like the go-to backline pick for these units. Blade co-ability giving a 1.1 multiplier for the strength, and how the strength is calculated in this game is very, very good. And the 20% dragon haste has never been better with dragons being as good as they are now. As far as his shared skill, it's very bait. If you want the bleed for fun, then by all means you can get it. We have so many shadow tomes in this game at the moment, but the animation time is a little too long for a shared skill for my taste, and that definitely hurts the overall appeal. And the playability of Ieyasu as a character is fun. I mean, he's all crit and bleed, and he's just a lot of fun to play. He's off meta at most. He's not like the most meta pick. But again, like I said, he and Dragalia Cleo have I'm picking this character for their co-abilities and their backline potential for other units. So yeah, I would say, I guess I kind of would bundle them into like the same pick, right? Where if you're looking for backline or co-abilities, right, it would be one of those 2 units. And I think they have the allure of being limited. As far as like a meta pick would be for a character that you would 100% play, hands down would be Mitsuba. I think realistically, Mitsuba is the unit I would recommend if you have Grace and you want a playable character, due to the fact that Mitsuba has found her way into every single Agito cheese clear that I have ever seen.
You read me like a book, because that was my number 2 pick. Yes, so I'll talk about her as well, but to double back on Cleo and Ieyasu, I 100% agree with everything you said. I personally feel like among the 2, I'm more of a Cleo person, but it's partially that shared skill. Like I think her shared skill, it just does a lot. It's energy, it's freeze. Like it's not a guaranteed freeze chance or anything, but I've also been doing some expert twins runs with other players in my group running her, and she's very effective. She seems just as good as any other water units. Like she's adding extra buff indicators to the Karinas that we're running with and things like that. So I wouldn't be too surprised or shocked to see her at least be, usable in the master difficulty of that. And yeah, her as a backliner, like, I think the thing to realize is it's rare to have an offensive co-ability and also have an offensive, or at least like sort of offensive, chain co-ability. So combo time and dragon haste being tied to a dagger and a blade respectively isn't something you see every day. Like that's something that you look at and you're like, oh, like that becomes the de facto best blade in Shadow, for instance, in the case of Ieyasu, because all of the other Shadow blades, I believe, all they provide is like some extra resistance or defense or something like that. And in the case of Dragon Yule Cleo, it's not as cut and dry because there is Renee. Renee's another dagger, and she gives buff time, and she has a Bog shared skill. So like there's some reason you might want to build her. She's a 4-star, but I'm a Cleo fan. I mean, I know there are going to be a lot of Cleo fans out there that want to go for her already and maybe missed her last time around. But if I think to what you said, to your credit, like if you're interested in a dragon character like Lathna, Forte, I mean, Ieyasu has got to be one of the best choices to get with them. And it's just similar to Cleo. Like, he's very fun to play as well. Like, the long animations can be punishing, and I wouldn't say he doesn't really have a home right now. Like, he lacks Dispel, that kind of hurts him. But if you can find a group to run with him, he is really fun. Like, there is something just satisfying about him just unleashing a flurry of sword slashes and causing bleeding. So certainly, I think he's worth a consideration. But I guess we should talk about Mitsuba, huh?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, she's just wild. I don't know if you've seen the tweet that went out, but obviously Master Ciela is not very old, yet there is already a sub 1 minute clear on Master Ciela, involving 2 Mitsuba, of course. You know, Mitsuba is always there. Mitsuba also enabled the 7-second Master Cayenne clear. I don't know if you've seen that one. That also has been floating around, which is just crazy. It made Veronica's S1 do like 13 million. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Just crazy. I mean, like, Cayenne, all he gets to do is he dashes to the wall and then he dies. Like, he doesn't even stop. It's just crazy to me.
Just to chime in, one of the really special things about Mitsuba is she is not limited. Like, Veronica and Marth are used in the same capacity, but they're collaboration characters. So if you're like somebody who, you're interested in this type of thing, this excites you, you see these videos, you're like, I want to try that. Maybe I want to try that with my friends, and they have Veronica and Marth, or whatever the case may be. Maybe they have Karina, or one of these other really busted characters. Mitsuba is awesome, and now she's available, so you could try that out. And also, outside of that context, she's fine. Like, she's a solid water DPS. One thing I would say is she's fun to play because she has a unique combo. So you're going to get something a little fresh compared to what you're seeing from your other daggers. And do you know exactly how it works? I'm sure it must have to do with her inspiration plus her ridiculous critical damage buff that she provides.
Yeah, I mean, in short, like, to do the whole run, I mean, you could make a whole video on it, right, in terms of how that looks, or the breakdown of what each player needs to do. But in short, yeah, the ideology is the 2 Mitsuba would immediately go into the stance that gets you the inspiration, and they would inspire the main damage dealers. And then the main damage dealer just goes ham, and then it's a rinse and repeat if you haven't popped the boss at that point. So it's extremely, well, we'll just say streamlined to pull off. Only a few things have to line up. So, it's very easy for a group of 4, if you guys are in a Discord, or a group of 4 friends, in real life, that want to get together and run these speed cheeses. They're really consistent and they're really fun to pull off. So yeah. And of course, Mitsuba is essentially that sole enabler, and she would get your foot in the door to be able to do these kind of farm comps, which I think was a majority of the expert Ayaha and Otaha pubs, if I'm not mistaken. It was pretty much double Mitsuba and like 2 Karina, or the Mitsuba Marth strategy, right? And there was a Delphi in there at one point. There was a whole bunch for the twins when Mitsuba was being used, and that was kind of her discovery period, I would say, for the community.
Yeah, she obviously, if you've watched this channel, I have a special history with Mitsuba. I spent way more than I would have on a Dream Summon to try get her at the time she came out. So I'll add that she's just a cute character. I mean, she has a cute story. Like, I feel she just hits on a lot of different notes. Like, she is a very flavorful and fun character with her story. She's got this Hinomotoan aesthetic. She happens to be randomly like super good in these ridiculous speed clears. She also has a fun play style. Also, she's just like solid if you're not trying to do cheese with her. She's okay. She's a pretty reasonable DPS to include on your water team. So she would be my choice after Grace, personally.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, she has so much going for her as a character. And kind of to attribute to that, you were a prophet. You foretold the meta with your polling for Mitsuba special. So
yeah, and I haven't even really used her in that capacity. Like I'm kind of basic with my clears. I have not really tried to get too fancy on any of these battles, but I do watch those clears, and it always blows my mind, and I have a lot of respect for it. It's something you probably want to group up to try do, but as we've said, she can be fun in a lot of different ways. So is there any other character that you want to list? So far you've mentioned, we both agreed to Grace. You mentioned Dragalia Cleo and Ieyasu, and now we talked about Mitsuba. Anyone else you want to bring up?
Oh gosh, I think that's good on the character list. I feel like if we go farther in the character list, for me, it would be like, there was a time where I spent like 25,000 Wormite trying to pull Nadine, and that didn't happen. And then I just realized she's in the Dream Summon. So, as far as it goes for that, it would be, like I said, more of a guilty pleasure summon for like a cute character. But I think then my concise and overall recommendation, one, hands down, is Grace. If you don't have her and you're considering the Dream Summon, just buy her. Do yourself a favor. Right away, you're going to see that auto compositions are going to open up for you. You're going to be able to use that honey. It's going to be worth it. Two, the second pick, if you're more into co-oping and playing, a meta style character or speedruns, would be Mitsuba.
Well, Orthodox, I think to wrap things up, we've talked about which picks we recommend for others. Let's just quickly run down, what is your situation like this time around for the Dream Summon, and who are you considering for yourself personally? I know for me, I already have Grace, Mitsuba, and so my considerations are a little different than your average player, but who are you considering? What few characters are you torn between right now as far as your Dream Summon?
Oh gosh, okay, so this is probably my hardest pick. I don't have Mitsuba.
Oh, okay.
Know that right away. I don't have Mitsuba. I don't have Halloween Elisan, and I don't have Nadine. So, every other character, Tobias, Grace, all the characters we've mentioned, I have. Ieyasu, Dragalia Cleo. So those three, I'm torn between. Nadine would be a guilty pleasure pick. There'd be probably no reason for me to get her other than the only other thing I see is there's lots of mention about her being useful as an auto composition character for Volk. She was a very popular pick for that. In terms of Mitsuba, right, something we've already mentioned is just her overall viability for speed composition. And then Halloween Elisan, I think of all three of them would just be I just like Lances. Lance is like one of my favorite weapon types. So, and Ellie's kind of cute, so, I wouldn't mind paying $14 for a Halloween Ellie.
Well, that is quite the trifecta. I sympathize with your dilemma because I'm also in a dilemma right now. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those three. Nadine, I'm a huge fan of, one of my favorite characters. I like her snappy selfie shared skill. It's a nice ranged option for dispelling, so that's kind of cool about her. And we already talked about Mitsuba. Halloween Ellie, I'm going to advise you, as we've advised everybody watching this, to hopefully wait and see, because you never know, maybe she'll become permanent, maybe you'll get her in the rest of your free summons this month. But as for me, if I had to list three characters, most of my viewers may know this, but Summer Mikoto is one I'm strongly considering. I've recently become more of a bow main because of the weapon bonus system, and Summer Mikoto is just a really cool light bow, very unique play pattern, kind of spins off of his original play style with the stances, so that appeals to me. But on the other hand, there's Summer Sanoa, and there's Subache. I don't have either of them, and they both are very appealing in their own ways. Like, Summer Sanoa, she's a summer alt. She has this huge like time black hole bomb attack that she does. She has the randomness on her second skill with the buffs, even though I think the way that she works, you tend to just wait and do it when you get all of the buffs at once. But she's one of the first characters who was introduced on a banner in Dragalia, the original Sanoa, and so she's a character I have a long history with. I'm tempted by her. I actually had her before I had access to Mikoto, so it's a strong consideration. And Zubache is there as well because I loved him in the event. His playstyle seems very unique and fun. I like low HP characters, and he's the rare low HP character in the light element that you don't see too often. So I'm torn, and I will say this about Summer Mikoto. Mikoto, I probably, if I were truly loyal, I would go for Mikoto. But I'm not gonna lie, like I like the original Mikoto better than Summer Mikoto in some ways, like just his design. So I don't know. I don't want to betray Mikoto, but like Summer Sanoa though, and Zubache though.
And they're all very unique characters. So I really feel you on this dilemma. As someone who has the characters that you've listed, it's tough. Oh man. So you have quite the decision to make, Foundry.
I really do. And I didn't even mention I'm missing also Chelsea and Forte, who have their own respective very unique play patterns that I've always been curious about. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I hope that we've at least given some advice to everybody watching this about what they might want to do with their Dream Summon, should they choose to go for it. If you're like us and you're torn between some of these beloved characters and you just can't pick, wait until the end of the month and hopefully you'll get one of them, get lucky in your summons, and your decision will be a little bit easier. But I think that's pretty much going to do it for this video, everyone. So, Orthodox, it's been a pleasure having you on the channel. Could you please let everybody know where they can find you?
Oh gosh, yes. Well, I'm over on Twitter as well. It's at @orthodox_Joe. I'm also here on YouTube as Orthodox with a 0 in the beginning. So it's 0 as instead of an O. And I'm also often over on the Discord. I'm on your Discord too, on Foundry Family. So guys, if you haven't joined Foundry's Discord, definitely do so. And I'm also on my Discord pretty heavily over with Quite as well. So that's where you guys can find me. Foundry, thank you so much for having me on. I love these discussion style videos. And of course, for those listening and watching, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Please subscribe to Foundry and join Foundry Family, the Discord. You guys can see me there as well.
Well, right back at you, Orthodox. I'll definitely link out to your channel in the description below, as well as the Twitter and Discord links. All of the links will be in the description, so I highly suggest that the people check out and subscribe to your content. It's always great to watch and listen to. But as I mentioned before, that's pretty much going to do it for today. So thank you again for joining me, Orthodox. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye, Ortho.
Thanks, bye.